News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Fired Missoula County deputy files lawsuit in Lewis and Clark County. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It's Friday. Congratulations, you made it. Friday, May 15th, 2015. Right now, the sky is cloudy. We have 46 degrees in Missoula. And our newscast this morning, sponsored by Boot Barn, celebrating everyday heroes who work hard for their families. Big savings on work apparel and boots in South Crossing. Today's top story, fired Missoula County Deputy Paige Pavallone has filed a lawsuit in Lewis and Clark County District Court against Sheriff T.J. McDermott, County Attorney Kirsten Pabst, and County Human Resources Director Patty Baumgart. She alleges she's been the victim of wrongful termination, discrimination on the basis of sex, interference with employment due to publication of a letter, libel, and negligent or intentional infliction of emotional distress. In a previous interview on the KGVO radio talkback show aired April 21st, Pavallone's attorney Josh Van der Wettering expressed outrage over Pavallone's firing from the Sheriff's Department.
If you're going to fire somebody, you have to have a good reason. And the Sheriff's Department doesn't have any good reason. Paige is highly educated. She's been highly decorated. She hasn't had any kind of disciplinary problem in the sheriff's office whatsoever. Sheriff
McDermott moved Pavallone from the public information officer position back to patrol duty after taking office in January.
You know, ever since then, they've made allegations against her, they being the sheriff and the undersheriff. They're utterly unsupported and utterly false.
At the close of the document, Pavallone asks the court for damages in an amount to be proven at trial, reasonable attorneys' fees and costs of the lawsuit, and such other relief that this court may deem just. And that's a quote. We'll have more on that story in our next newscast at 6:30, including an explanation as to why the suit was filed in Lewis and Clark County instead of Missoula. Leaders from 9 Native American tribes have urged the Army Corps of Engineers to deny permits for a proposed coal export terminal near Bellingham, Washington. The leaders from Washington, British Columbia, and Montana met in Seattle yesterday to oppose the Gateway Pacific Terminal at Cherry Point. That project would export as much as 48 million tons of coal each year from Montana and Wyoming to Asia. The Lumi Nation and others say the project would disrupt treaty-protected fishing rights and harm sacred sites. The tribes include the Lumi, Lower Elwha, Spokane, Quinault, Yakima, Tulalip, Northern Cheyenne, and Swinomish tribes. And a coalition of environmental groups has filed a court challenge to new federal rules aimed at preventing accidents involving trains carrying oil and other flammable fuels. The groups argue federal officials gave companies too much time to phase out railroad tank cars known to rupture during derailments. It also says the government has backtracked on earlier requirements for railroads to notify state officials about oil shipments. Oil trains have been involved in a string of recent accidents across the country. Missoula police and county deputies are searching for Brendan Grimstead, a Missoulian who disappeared last week. Missoula Police Public Information Officer Travis Welsh provides details.
He apparently left home on May the 5th and said he was going out for the evening, and his family has not seen him since, and they're concerned, understandably. He's a 46-year-old white male, 5 foot 10 inches tall, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Grimstead went missing in his truck, which he fueled up at a Missoula gas station before he disappeared.
May be driving a 2005 Ford Ranger that's four-wheel drive, has an extra cab, and is gray in color. Montana license 473452 Adam. Also has a black tonneau cover, black foot rails, black grill guard, and tinted windows. If anybody has information about where he might be, we would ask them to contact Detective Mitch Lang.
That number, 552-6292. Get photos of Grimstad and his vehicle on our website at newstalkkgvo.com. A man is being held on a $100,000 bond after being charged with beating his girlfriend and poisoning her daughter with alcohol. The Montana Standard reports prosecutors say 23-year-old Keith Jasper Klistoff hit his girlfriend in the face repeatedly March 19th and shoved a blanket in her mouth. Klistoff, who has a history of domestic violence, struck the woman again when she asked about her daughter's health. At the hospital, the 2.5-year-old's blood alcohol content was 0.185. Police arrested Klistoff March 20th after he rolled a vehicle a Butte man says was stolen from him. The man told police Klistoff assaulted him, tied him up, and took his wallet. For those paying attention to city politics, there's an interesting feature about the upcoming election season, an absolute dearth of incumbents for city council. Each election year, 6 of the 12 city council seats are up for re-election. But this year, familiar names like Jason Weiner, Ed Childers, Alex Taft, Mike O'Haron, and Adam Hertz will likely not be on the ballot. Even Patrick Weaselhead, who replaced Caitlin Koppel after she stepped down, still hasn't filed. KGVO News asked Adam Hertz why so many council members appear to be giving up their seats.
I can't speak for anybody else, but I've really enjoyed my time serving the citizens of Ward 2, but just have a lot going on with work and family and other commitments, and don't think that I have the time to re-up and serve another term, and so I've decided not to run.
Hertz says he's been busy looking for a replacement that will do a good job for the city.
One voice that I think has been largely lacking has been the voice of fiscal conservatism. So I'm certainly, reaching out to folks that I think would be able to carry that torch. I'm focusing on finding people with business backgrounds and, backgrounds that I think can get the city on a better track in terms of economic development.
So far, 5 candidates have entered the race, but no one is vying for Ed Childers' seat in Ward 5. Any registered voter that lives in a Missoula ward can enter as long as they file the paperwork before July 2nd. Filing fee, $140.23. Right now, the Montana Public Service Commission is setting out new rules for taxi carriers and new services like Uber and Lyft, which would come to Montana late this year. The PSC has a lot of power with their rulemaking process and could put many barriers in the way of these new business models. However, Commissioner Travis Kavula assures that's unlikely to happen.
The law was intended to open up the market, not to impose a lot of undue barriers to people being allowed to do business. The rulemaking that we're proposing is pretty bare bones at this point. It allows people to apply for these licenses, but it also allows people or the commission itself to object if they're skeptical about a certain safety practice.
During the legislative session, some complained that services like Uber were unsafe and didn't require enough training for their drivers. The new rules haven't been made publicly available, but they were agreed to by 4 out of the 5 commissioners. And perhaps the heavens won't open during the University of Montana's 118th commencement exercises tomorrow, but the current forecast, 100% chance of rain. The main ceremony will be held at 10 a.m. inside Washington Grizzly Stadium, rain or shine. Audience members will be allowed to use umbrellas in designated areas, but graduating students will not be allowed to use umbrellas. Their mortarboard caps will have to suffice. Luckily for those who don't want to brave the rain, the entire ceremony will be streamed online. Our News Talk time now is 6:12.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly cloudy to cloudy skies today with a few showers and a possible thunderstorm. Highs will top out in the mid to upper 60s. Areas of rain this evening. Overnight lows drop into the low 40s. Scattered showers on Saturday. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.